Hi, welcome to a new episode from API University. What we're going to do this time is we're going to look at an API, we're going to look at an API dev portal, and we're going to evaluate this API. The idea is really to have a series of such API evaluations, and you can post what kind of API you want to have evaluated next. We're going to look at the dev portal, we're going to try out the API, we're going to call it, we're going to see what the result's going to be like, and we're going to see how intuitive it is to use this API. So let's get started. I think for the first review, we're going to look at a really cool web application that also has an API, and it's called Unsplash. It's a search engine with free photo material. So photographers just upload their material, the best shots actually, on Unsplash. So you have almost like a Google image search, but much better. And all the results that come back are actually free to use and free to integrate if you do an attribution to the photographer who provided that really cool shot. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to start on the Unsplash page. Let me take you there, unsplash.com. So that's the page on Unsplash. You have a really big search bar, right? So you can search for any term that you would like to use. For example, what could that be? Birthday. And it brings up a lot of pictures, kind of like Google image search. And it has a birthday theme, right? So cake, candles, balloons. Really cool. We can zoom into one of those. For example, here, those balloons. We can open up this page, basically. You can see download for free and similar pictures. Very good. Let me get a little bit more info about this page or about this picture. It's called the balloon. So there's a description of this picture. In which dimensions it has been taken. There's a bit of info about the camera, how many times it has been viewed already. So statistics, likes, downloads, lots of different things. And of course you can see the photographer up here, and you can then navigate to all his other photos that he did and download more of them. You can download it for free. You need to make an attribution to the photographer. But this is just a start, because Unsplash also has a really cool developer portal. So let's go to Unsplash API developers. And now we're on the dev portal of API of Unsplash, where they describe their API and how you can call it. I really like the design, how they did it. On the right upper hand corner, they have some like animation going on with a curl call that shows you already, like just by looking at the page, how this API works and what the different endpoints are that you can call. So it's a curl call to api.unsplash.com. There it builds up photos. And then you can also do some kind of search for photos, and you have a query with a query string. It's kind of super intuitive, and then they show the results in the lower part. Of course, those results won't show graphically. What you will get back is a JSON construct, as I see here, and a lot of this extra info that we've seen. For example, which camera has been used to take that picture. Then, as usual, you can, on this dev portal, register as a developer, because usually you need to authenticate. So they want to know who the request is coming from. What else can I learn on this page? Simple integration. Okay, they kind of have some SDK, as it looks like. For JavaScript, for PHP, looks like this. For Ruby, it looks like this. That's good. You can get a photo, search a photo. And then you see here, unlimited requests for free. And there's a couple of a couple of applications that have used Unsplash already. So really good. Now let's get started, and in order to know how to call it, we need to have some documentation, right? Documentation. Okay, there's lots of stuff to read. Quick shortcuts. Yeah, so general information about the API, how they do pagination, how they do rate limiting, information about the current user. Of course, you need to be authenticated to get that kind of information. I want to search for an image. Where is that? A user's photo? No. User's collection. Okay, let's go to quick start. Links, search photo by keyword. That's exactly what I want to do. I do a get search photos. Get a single page of photo results for query. See the note on hot linking. Okay, so that's probably about attribution. For the photographer, I have some kind of parameters. I have a query parameter called query, using the search term, the page orientation. Okay, if it's landscape, or that's really good. And then you have an example. Yeah, so I already know how I would call that thing. That's really good. Then I would say, let's try that. Let's just go curl and that URL. And we need some OAuth token. Okay, do you know what OAuth is? You can learn more about OAuth and all the little details about OAuth in the link that I'm going to post there. And you can well, go to a course. You can go to you can go get a book about it, and it's all up there. So let me see. Now I need to register as a developer. I think that's the first thing I need to do. I need to access the Unsplash API. First join. Okay, like that. I can sign up with Facebook. That's really nice. Okay. I'm putting that stuff in. Very good. Join. All right, so now we have signed up for the developer portal. They already know who we are. Welcome, Matthias. That's very nice. I now have to create an application, and there are apparently 3 types of applications that you can create. There's a demo application limited to 50 requests in an hour, a production one, and an enterprise one. Of course, the enterprise one, you need to pay. Production, probably you need to go through some kind of approval process. Yeah, they're going to check if you, here they say, if you follow the Unsplash API guidelines. Demo, that's the thing we're going to use now because we're just going to start out and see how the thing works. Okay, then I would say big button, new application. Quite intuitive. The API is to be used for an automated, high quality and authentic experience. Can't replicate the core user experience. That's clear. Do not abuse the API. That's of course clear. Here, usually they try to get a grip on what your application is going to do with when it accesses the API, right? So, and they want to enforce that you have followed the the core of, or the key points of their terms of use, and those are in the checkbox here. You can read, of course, all the little legal details about using the API, which you should do. And then you accept the terms, application name. We're going to call this API University Review. description, API reviews by API University. Very good, great. All right, that was it. API University review in demo state, so we can have 50 calls per hour. That should be enough. All the things we could do if we apply for production keys, add a screenshot. So that's already the start of what you see here is the start of calling or triggering the review process for the production. So you get higher rate limits. Okay, here's a little bit of graphics, the statistics of how the API is used. Of course, we haven't used it, so nothing to show. And then we have a couple of access keys and secret keys. Here's information about the scopes that you need for OAuth and your redirect URI if you really need to use OAuth. Okay, so let's go back to the documentation. We have registered our API. Now, what we need to do is authorize. Okay, so here they have a little thing about authorization. Apparently, they do have two different types of authorization. They have public actions with, as it looks like, yeah, it looks like they have just API key. You just need to have your access key to access public actions, and then you have user authentication for other things, for more personalized experiences. Okay, let's look at public actions. For example, downloading a photo does not require a user to log in. To authenticate requests in this way, you have to use the access key. As for good, we can do that. You can pass the value using client ID query parameter. All right, so you just use a query parameter to, well, I don't know what I should think about that. It's just the access key. Yeah, it's not really safe, but otherwise they call it public action, so they just want to have an identifier so they can use this for rate limiting, I guess. That's the only case I can think of, and to attribute the statistics to the right client. So it's not super safe if you just have an API key and a query parameter, but that's a minor detail. I mean, you can access exactly this functionality via the web page anyway. So we should be fine. So the only thing we need to do is we need to have client ID, your access key. All right, so what we need to do is we need to look for the search photo API, and then we need to pass our client ID as a query parameter. And here we got it. It's the API unsplash.com search photos, first page, query birthday, and then we have our client ID, fire. And there it is. There's our result. Not super readable. Not super readable. We can use that already to get started and write a little Node.js application in order to call this API, because now we have the query string, right? We know what to call, and let's just open a little editor and write a Node application for that. So let's copy that URL that was working in here, URL. use the request library, but we don't have it yet in our system, so we install it with the node package manager npm. It's going to go to the internet, download that package, install it in our system. Already done. And there we go, run node, our index.js that we've API unsplash. Do we have some copy paste error in here? It sure looks like it. Node index.js. Oh, there we go. We got our API results. So, as you've seen, this is already some really nice JavaScript, JSON object. So what we can do is we can, or is that a string or a JSON object? That's more of a string, right? So now we want to have a result object, and that's gonna be json.parse of whatever string we're getting, and then this can go up here. We have result, and now the interesting thing is, how do we navigate the result? And here the API documentation can help us. They don't really have a schema specification or anything. They just have an example, which is usually fine if you have an example. So there's a total pictures, results. What we want is the image, right? So then they have a user object there. We're not so interested in the user object yet. We need this later for attribution of the author. Here are the URLs. That's probably it. So the user object closes here, then we get a URL. But we could also just get the description for starts. So we go to results, and then we have an array, and then we go to the description. Result.results. Well, let's not call this result. Let's call this images. Well, let's call it search. Search.results dot, and then we just assume there is one, and it's not 100% clean, and then we get the description of the first result, and then we're just gonna print it. Res.body, exactly, we're only interested in the body, because this actually gives us the res object that we get back from the request, the response. That's actually a full HTTP response, and in that HTTP response we have the headers, we have a lot of stuff, and only one part of it is the body, and we're only interested in the body. So we need to take the body, we parse it, and put it into the search object that we've created. So let's see if that works. Null. So the first one has no description. Can that be? Let's see if the second one has a description. Yeah. So the description of the second image that we got as a result is selective focus photography of assorted colored balloons. Very cool. You know what? We're also interested in the URL, and the URL is under descriptions. Then we go to links, but these are the links of the user. So user object closes here. Then there is links. Ah, no, here's URLs. Okay, so that's all user object and then URLs. And then we're gonna go for the full or the regular. URLs.regular. Results URL.urls.regular. All right. And there's our URL. That's so cool. What happens if we call this URL? Let's just use that URL in the browser and see what kind of image it returned. And that's color assorted. Yeah, that's the balloons. Come on, it's the balloons. Not color assorted. Blah blah. Selective focus photography. Whatever. It's a balloon. So now, okay, we have one result. Now we can start doing all kinds of stuff. We can iterate over our results.
How would we go and do this? We would just go in JavaScript, say for each, and then we have an element, and from this element we get the description and the URLs.regular. So for each, now we need to map, we need to make a function here, and this function gets the element and then has the following body. It's here. Yes. Should that work? Should work.
So, and now we have a person holding pink and white balloons. We have the selective focus photography holding sparklers between cake. And sometimes the description is null. So now we got about 10 results. One thing that we need to watch out is we are now writing a Node application, right? So it's running on our machine. What happens if we want to integrate this image search into a web application? And for example, we have React, so we have some client-side JavaScript, which could potentially also want to call this API. But what they did actually is that they implemented course, and it's not allowed to just call this from a random URL. Maybe this is part of going productive, but I doubt it. And what you would need to do if you do this on React is you write your own API server-side that is basically a proxy for the Unsplash API, and you can call that API from your single page application. So let's have a look at the rest of the API. Now we've searched for photos, we found a description for the photos. At least for one, we print out the result because that would probably give us a little bit more insight into what can be done with this API. Console.log, and then we do a JSON.stringify, and there's a search results. Let's just get the balloons. Let's make it pretty 0. Yeah. So for the first one, we actually get back a lot of interesting information, such as what's in the picture. And I think they have done this using some kind of image recognition software. So balloon, color, string, helium, party. decoration, happy, party, helium, balloon. This is cool. Sponsored by, okay, there's more information about the photographer. You can see his Instagram username where you get more stuff. Profile pictures of the photographer. Links. Okay, to the web page basically. These are links to the web page. If you want to directly link to Unsplash. Twitter username. Now this is really cool. You can make cool attribution, little attribution messages on the screen if you display this with a link to the Instagram or with a link to the Twitter. That's good. You can get likes. You can put likes on it. I guess the API also allows you to put likes on the pictures. And then a super interesting, super relevant information. There's a width and a height. And the width, yeah, and the color. So the predominant color in the picture is also here. In the description, we already know that. Very good. So it's one of the functions that you can call in the Unsplash API. Search for photos. You get a lot of information about the photos. You get relevant photos. You get tags on the photos. You get a description on the photos and meta information. That's about it. I wanted to show you about the Unsplash API. Hope you liked it. And if you have interesting APIs that you want to have a look at, that you want to have a review, you want to learn how to use them, just go to the comments below and put your favorite API that you want to have reviewed in there. And in one of the upcoming shows, I will look at them. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.